Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, episode 9. Yeah, we're only doing one episode this week. Surprise, surprise. We've been doing 2 lately, and it's because, honestly, I've just been really loving this series, and I've been wanting to get through more and more. And honestly, I wanted to do 2 this week, but I still haven't pre-recorded stuff for this weekend. And as you remember, there's 4 things that come out every weekend. Ruby, JoJo, Loud House, and She-Ra. I have not pre-recorded anything. Now, JoJo doesn't actually come out until tomorrow, so I won't be able to pre-record that till tomorrow anyways. But I decided I need to pre-record at least 2 things today so I can do the other 2 tomorrow. And I'm thinking it'll probably be best to do Ruby today, because just it's shortest and the easiest to get to, so yeah, that's my plan. And because of it, that means, just because of the time, and I also had to of course, I also had to record Castlevania for today. It's a Thursday. I go to the bar on Thursdays. I don't have the time to pre-record everything, and I don't have the time to do more than 1 episode of She-Ra. So I'm doing both She-Ra and I guess Ruby today. But we're on She-Ra right now, so episode 9. So last time was the Princess Prom, and everything went to shit. And I like that. I like, not only just because everything went wrong, which is already a good thing to do in a series like this, where our heroes are just keep winning the day every time. I like that it not only went wrong this time, but went so fucking wrong that it's a great counterbalance. Because again, up to this point, with Adora having become She-Ra and having learned her powers and whatnot, they've been winning every encounter. They've been, honestly, dominating every encounter. But then, Catra formulates a plan with Scorpia that proves to be an extremely smart and well thought out plan, to the point where it works in such a drastic way. They not only defeat our heroes, but because of the prom, because of the neutral territory, our heroes aren't even being allowed to fight back initially. And Adora has to leave her sword at the sword check, and it ends up getting taken by the bad guys. So she can't even turn into She-Ra right now. But on top of that, the bad guys have also kidnapped Bow and Glimmer. So our heroes are kind of left with no She-Ra, and 2 of their members down, and a huge disadvantage in general, and a huge drop in morale. That was not only just a victory for the bad guys, but a decisive victory. It was extremely well thought out, extremely excellently planned. And that's interesting to me, because Shadow Weaver, the supposed right hand of Lord Hordak, failed spectacularly at taking down Adora. Now, granted, her plan wasn't terrible. Shadow Weaver's plan was actually pretty smart and did almost work. But it wasn't perfect. It wasn't the perfect plan for the situation and for the enemy. Catra, her plan worked so well because she knows Adora. She knows Adora very well. More so than Shadow Weaver. And Shadow Weaver raised both of them, apparently. But Catra and Adora were best friends, and in some people's eyes, even more. The point is, they knew each other extremely well, which is how Catra knew exactly where to hit her, exactly how to defeat her. Because remember, every time they encountered each other before this, it was always on Shadow Weaver's orders. It was always according to her plans. Catra wasn't acting according to her ideas. And so when she finally takes control, guess what? It works. She didn't capture Adora, but she knows that with Adora's friends there and everything, Adora's going to come right to them. Catra, honestly, is extremely smart. Like, she may seem like she's a bit of a loose cannon, and she is, but when she actually puts her mind to something, she's actually pretty damn intelligent. And I have to give her kudos for that. So this episode, I do actually know the title of this episode, unfortunately. I did see it. It's called No Princess Left Behind. Usually I actually try to avoid actually looking at the titles, but I did manage to see it this time. But just as I was getting it up, so I didn't have much time to think about it. But yeah, it kind of just implies what I already thought was going to happen. Our heroes are going to try to go and rescue Glimmer and Bow, and of course get the sword back. Yeah, of course. I mean, what else would happen next? And the title, yeah, that's exactly what it makes me think of. Though it specifically says no princess, and I mean, Glimmer's there, but Bow isn't a princess. I don't know. Maybe it's implying something else as well, but I guess we'll see. But yeah, it's just like, it's really fascinating to me. Just the fact that they did it this way. And again, it's a fantastic idea and a great writing to do it that way. Because if you're going to have your heroes be so powerful and be able to win every time, when they do lose, you have to make it meaningful. You have to make that loss big. Because you have to make it believable. When you have these heroes, like when you have She-Ra, She-Ra is extremely powerful. So to have a loss like this, you have to make it work. And making it work by having it so where Adora doesn't have her sword and can't get to it, that makes sense. And making it and doing it in a way to where the bad guys are so well planned that everything goes off pretty much without a hitch. That's how you do it. You have to make this. You have to make the victory for the bad guys, the loss for the good guys, be really impactful and be really serious. Like, it is a really, really big loss for the good guys. Like, no joke, this is a really big loss. So yeah, I think they really nailed the impact of it. I can't wait to see what happens next. Again, I wish I could do more than one episode, but I also have to pre-record Ruby, and it's just like, I can only do one episode if I'm going to pre-record both. Because, again, I have to get ready to go to the bar later and everything, and yeah. But I still hope to enjoy this, and so far, like, this series is phenomenal. It's very easily on its way to becoming one of my favorites of all time. It just depends on how these last few episodes go. Now, after this week, I do know that there's only 4 more episodes, because we're doing one episode, and that actually helps things anyway. Because then next week and the week after, we can do 2 episodes each, and then we'll finish out with She-Ra. Until Season 2 comes along. But yeah, I really, really am enjoying this. So I can't wait to see where this goes. So we're just going to get on with it. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So yeah, as I was saying at the end of the reaction and all, it's like, they kind of just assumed Entrapped is dead. With very little actual evidence. I just feel like they're jumping the gun a bit there. I don't think she's dead. However, if she is not dead, and she was left behind, maybe she's going to end up, like, turning on them, seeing them as, like, having betrayed her. She could become a villain. That could be interesting. But it's just like, I just feel like that's jumping the gun a bit. I I get that they were all kind of annoyed by her. I get that. I'm a little annoyed by her too, if I'm being honest. But it's just like they just assumed so much. As I was saying, like she could have, the robot could have protected her. She could have found a way out of there through, if there was any kind of ventilation or any way she could have gotten through the mechanical wiring or stuff or whatnot. I just feel like there's so many ways she could have survived that. And it's just assumption that she died without any actual evidence. And they just gave up. They just assumed. They just went on. But let's talk about the rest of the episode. So, after the substantial loss our heroes faced at the Princess Prom, we now have the rebellion going into the Fright Zone to rescue Glimmer, Bo, and the sword. So, we have our team. They head off, our Princess Alliance. And when getting there, they seem to be doing the best they can, basically. There are a few pitfalls, but everything is going mostly according to plan. Eventually, though, things get a little harder, and they save Bo. They've got everything else except the sword and Glimmer. And at this point, Adora has to make the decision and tells everyone else, "Get out of there. I'll rescue Glimmer. We'll meet you elsewhere." And in the end, she wasn't actually planning on rescuing Glimmer. She was planning on like, "Oh, I'll stay here. I'll stay here willingly, but you have to let Glimmer go." And Shadow Weaver's like, "Yeah, fuck that. I'm just gonna brainwash you." And then Glimmer, I'm so glad she was the one who stopped it, because it was well built up. We saw her trying to teleport out, and we saw how she even got close. But how the, I guess, Black Garnet or whatever was keeping her locked in. But we see here, with Adora now there, and Adora in danger of being, having her mind wiped, it pushed Glimmer to go past her initial limits and get out with her teleport. And she does it excellently and goes right into an attack from the teleport, which is smart as hell, by the way, and takes out Shadow Weaver. The second time now that Shadow Weaver has failed while directly trying to do something. And yet, Catra succeeded! But Shadow Weaver tried to take credit, and that's not right. And that's the thing. Not only did she try to take credit, but she was going to demote Catra because of it. Because they had Adora now, they didn't need, Catra didn't need to be Force Captain anymore. And it's like, Catra saw what she meant to Shadow Weaver in that point, that she was basically expendable. And so, that's why she gave the sword back to Adora at the end. I don't think she's, like, fully turned around or anything. But I think she's starting to see why Adora chose to leave for good. And maybe this could lead to Catra's redemption arc, which I definitely think is going to happen either way. So yeah, I'm really, really excited about this. And I mentioned at the beginning how I love her laugh, and it's like, I just think H.E. Machalka has one of the most adorable laughs out there, to be honest. Her laugh is just cute as fuck, and yeah, it's just, I just like that kind of stuff, I'm a sucker for voices and stuff. Like, I really am. I love good voice acting, or just really good voices. Like, a good voice that is like a good voice, even without having a body attached to it, like you don't have to see the person speaking, you could just hear the voice. A good voice can, in and of itself, be attractive. And a laugh like that is attractive to me. I really find those kind of laughs attractive. I mean, it's the same thing with, like, Markiplier. I find Markiplier's voice extremely attractive. He has just a really, really attractive voice. But yeah, it's just like, there are certain voices that just make you swoon. A lot of people say there are certain accents that make them swoon. And, I mean, yeah, that's definitely true for me in a lot of ways, too. And it's just like, I don't know why I'm even bringing this up in such a way, but I just feel like it's funny to me because I made such a point out of that at the beginning of the episode. Scorpia's part in this episode, though, let's talk about that, with Seahawk and all, it wasn't like anything big, but it was still fun, and it still showed how adorably naive she can be. I enjoy her so much. In fact, this is how I think it's going to go. I think it's going to be that Catra is redeemed, but Scorpia is actually the one to remain on the bad guy's side, despite the fact that her personality and everything is like this. I think she's going to actually be really, really loyal to the bad guys for some reason. I think it'd be a good contrast to their personalities. While Catra is the one to turn against Lord Hordak and the why can't I think of the enemy name now? The Horde. Well, I think Catra's going to be the one to turn against the Horde. I think Scorpia's going to remain strictly loyal to them. Just as a fun little contrast with their personalities and all. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, other than Entrapta being, trapped in the building there, everything else basically went well in their escape, for the most part. They got Glimmer and Bow, they got the sword, everything's good, again, except Entrapta. And it's just like, again, they just kind of assumed. There was no actual evidence to her being dead. It's like what a lot of people say with a lot of these, like, TV shows and whatnot, like with The Walking Dead, or with, whatever else. It's like, they're not dead unless you actually see them die. Do not assume they're dead unless you see them die. Like, in a really, like, legitimate way. And it's just, it's the same kind of thing. I just don't think she's dead. I don't think there's enough evidence to point to that. And I honestly, I don't see it happening. Not that I don't see a character, not that I don't think a character can die in this show. But I just don't see it happening like that. If a character is going to die, especially one of the main princesses, it's going to be a much more impactful scene. This, honestly, was just kind of a throwaway thing, if it were at her actual death. So I just don't think it is. And like I said, maybe this could lead to her end up turning on them and joining the Horde. Because if she sees it as they abandoned her, maybe she'll work with the bad guys instead now. I don't know. It's too hard to say at the moment. I wish I could do another episode, but unfortunately, as I said before, I do have to pre-record Ruby as well, and then tomorrow I'm going to obviously do JoJo and Loud House. But yeah, I really enjoyed this nonetheless, and I want to hear what you think. So tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. And for now, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See you all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles, shed tears along the way, you're still standing, live, love, laugh.